to Moses, beginning with his first recorded conversation X2. 13, 14, continuing to his final blessing on the people to 33. 1-29, and including some of his lengthy speeches to 1. 1. 5. 1. 27. 1. 29. 2. 31. 1 Notable songs. X15. 1-19. To 31. 30. 32. 43 O text to acute miritra longo, Pentecost 598-16. 9-12. It was to be celebrated on the 50th day. Pentecost means 50th day from Nisan 16, the day that the barley sheaf was offered. 23. 15, 16 in the Jewish calendar it falls on 7-6. It was after the barley harvest and the beginning of the harvest of wheat, which ripened later than the barley. X9. 31, 32. The Israelites were not allowed to begin the harvest until the first fruits of the barley had been presented to Jehovah on Nisan 16. Therefore, in Deuteronomy 16. 9, 10 the instructions are: from when the sickle is first put to the standing grain you will start to count 7 weeks. Then you must celebrate the festival of weeks to Jehovah your God. Every male was required to attend, and it is also stated in connection with this festival. You must rejoice before Jehovah your God, you and your son and your daughter and your manslave and your slave girl and Levite who is inside your gates and the alien resident and the fatherless boy and the widow, who are in your midst, in the place that Jehovah your God will choose to have his name reside there. 16. 11 The Passover was a close family observance. The festival of harvest, or Pentecost, called for a more open and hospitable liberality, in this sense resembling the festival of booths. The first fruits of the wheat harvest were to be treated differently from the barley first fruits. 2/10 of an ephah of fine wheat flour 4.4 L 4 dry quart along with leaven was to be baked into 2 loaves. They were to be out of your dwelling places, which meant that they were to be loaves like those made for the daily use of the household and not expressly for holy purposes. 23. 17 burnt offerings and a sin offering went along with this, and as a communion offering 2 male lambs. The priest waved the loaves and the lambs before Jehovah by putting his hands underneath the loaves and the pieces of the lambs and waving them back and forth, signifying that they were presented before Jehovah. After the loaves and the lambs were offered, they became the priests for him to eat as a communion offering. 23. 18-20. There is a slight difference in description of the other offerings aside from the communion offering in the account at Numbers 28. 27-30. Instead of 7 lambs, 1 young bull, 2 rams, and 1 kid of the goats, as at Leviticus 23. 18-19, it calls for 7 lambs, 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 1 kid of the goats. Jewish commentators say that the passage in Leviticus refers to the sacrifice to accompany the wave loaves, and the one in Numbers to the properly appointed sacrifice of the festival, so that both were offered. Supporting this, Josephus, in describing the sacrifices on Pentecost Day, first mentions the 2 lambs of the communion offering, then combines the remaining offerings, enumerating 3 calves, 2 rams evidently a transcriber's error for 3, 14 lambs, and 2 kids. Jewish Antiquities, 3, 253x, 6 The day was a holy convention, a Sabbath day. 23. 21. New 28. 26. The festival of Pentecost came at the end of the barley harvest and was a time of rejoicing, as is indicated by the communion offering that was presented by the congregation and was given to the priest. This offering would also denote peaceful fellowship with Jehovah. At the same time the sin offering reminded the Israelites of sin on their part and was a petition to God for forgiveness and cleansing. The increased burnt offering served as a practical expression of their gratitude for his bountifulness as well as a symbol of their wholeheartedness in carrying out their covenant relationship with God. Not only was it specially appropriate for Israel to offer thanks to Jehovah on this day, but they also were not to forget their poor brothers. After giving instructions on the festival, Jehovah commanded, "And when you people reap the harvest of your land, you must not do completely the otextoi acute miritra longo, Penwell 599 The morning glow extended to Hebron Putin and to all such preparations, by giving the signal for the regular morning sacrifice. The Temple, 1874, p. 228. After the regular daily morning sacrifice was offered, the festive sacrifices described in Numbers 28. 26-30 were brought. Afterward came the offering peculiar to Pentecost. The wave loaves with their accompanying sacrifices. 23. 18-20 After the loaves were waved, one of them was taken by the high priest, and the second was divided among all the officiating priests. Symbolic significance of the festival. It was on the day of Pentecost that the Holy Spirit was poured out by Jesus Christ on the group of about 120 disciples in the upper room at Jerusalem in the year 33 CE. Act 1. 13-15 Jesus had been resurrected on Nisan 16, the day of the offering of the barley sheaf by the high priest. He was, in a figurative sense, without leaven, which represents sin. Heb 7. 26 At Pentecost, as the great high priest,